Hey, what's up guys? Blake Snodgrass here. I have a really cool video for you guys today. I'm going to do a quick intro for it. What you're about to see is a member success panel within our agency mastermind inner circle here at Agency Collective. Okay, so what you're about to see is a panel where we brought on, I believe, three of some of our successful agency owners in our inner circle, in our mastermind, and have them share with us what some of their favorite client acquisition methods are. Maybe talk a little bit about their come up and how they grew their agency. Maybe talk about some of the mindset shifts they had to make as they were scaling their agency. Just a lot of like really, really good insight from a few really awesome, successful agency owners who have grown their businesses drastically over the past year or so. I know that myself and the other members of our community got a lot of value from hearing these people talk about their journeys, and I hope you get value out of this as well. By the way, if you could like and subscribe, that really helps the channel. I'm trying to put out a lot of very valuable free content on this channel for you guys lately. If you're an agency owner or a marketing consultant, I talk all about how to acquire new clients, how to increase profitability, how to remove yourself from fulfillment and account management while also increasing sales, all sorts of other fun stuff. So again, like, subscribe, that really help out. Enjoy the video. Dude, Amir, you want to tell us a little bit about your business and your agency? I mean, just introduce yourself, who you are, and then tell us about your agency and like what you mainly focus on.
Sure. So my name is Amir Tabrizi. I own the company or agency called Agency 270. It references anyone who knows DC, Maryland, Virginia. There's a highway that runs through all of it, which is I-270. So not too like, oh my God. So it's fun, but everybody asks, is that because of that? But so our specific focus is, our niche is really just like the home services and real estate broken down into different tiers. And yeah, I don't know, did I miss anything else?
No, you're good. You're good, man. Yeah, so real estate focus, that's your main thing for your agency?
Yeah,
And
real
like,
estate and home services, and because it all kind of just like goes right under each other. So like roofers, plumbers, electricians, like all of that fun stuff that encompasses all of one.
For sure. Very similar to my agency as well. And SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads, all that.
Yeah, SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads, some geo targeting ads as well.
Okay.
So geofencing, and then a lot of videos, podcasting, different things like that.
Nice. Okay, sweet. Josh, how about you, man?
Yeah, so owner of Blue Goat Marketing. We've been in business for about 7 years now, and started out of necessity because I needed more money, and love it. We've been doing this. We do SEO, web design, Facebook ads, Google ads, and that's it. And we turn all the other stuff away.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, like, I'm a big fan of simplicity. I got to the same point in my agency where I was like, you come to me wanting web design or graphic design or whatever, like, here's a reference. Come back to me when you want to get some customers. Amir, and then Josh, how long y'all been in Agency Collective? I forgot to ask that.
I've been in here since May.
Okay, cool. So 4 months-ish, May, June, July, August, September, something like that, 4 or 5 months. And then Josh, you've been here a while.
Yeah.
OG.
At least 6, maybe more.
6? It must be more.
Is
right?
it? Is it more? Yeah.
Wasn't it last year?
I don't even think I'm at a full year yet.
No? Okay. Gotcha.
If anything, like, let's say maybe 9 months.
Okay, cool.
Josh is having so much fun, he can't count it anymore.
I know.
He's like, dude, it's been at least 2 weeks for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me turn off this annoying doorbell sound. I always forget that. Okay, cool. Sweet. Tony, how about you, man?
Name of my business is my name, Tony Peroni Inc. We kind of do business on Facebook as the Flooring Dealer Sales Accelerator. I've been in the group now for 6 months. I do primarily Facebook ads, SEO, and PPC.
Nice. Cool, man. Tony Peroni Inc. Coolest name.
I know, right?
Mississippi.
Right. Tony
That's
Peroni.
awesome, dude. Tony Peroni. It's really cool. And I
Like
think
my dad, gotta thank my dad for that one. He fought for it. Actually, my dad tried to
awesome.
name me Gino. My mom wouldn't
Gino
have
Peroni.
it, so we settled it. We settled for Tony.
it's so Italian. Is your family Italian?
Yeah, my dad's side is, yeah.
I mean, like, it has to be, right?
Yeah.
So very, very cool. Okay. And then I think we were gonna have Alex Evans join us today as a 4th member on the panel, but I don't think he ended up being able to make it, or maybe he might join late. So cool, guys. Tony, Amir, and Josh, thank you so much for doing this. And thanks for sharing about your business. So I wanted to kick it off with a couple like super simple questions, yet at the same time questions that I think everyone would want to ask you. Like number one, probably going to be the most asked question if we polled people. Like, what's your favorite client acquisition method, or your most dependable client acquisition method nowadays? Out of the last 10 clients, where are most of them coming from? And let's start with someone I know the answer to. Let's go with Josh, because I already know the answer.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, paid ads. I mean, Facebook and TikTok are only two paid ad platforms, and TikTok is producing 2/3 of the leads and also about 2/3 of our clients that we're landing.
Wow.
That's awesome. You're definitely one of the few people in Agency Collective who have dialed that in. And I think the reason why some people don't dive into that super quickly is because, just like I just said, it takes dialing in, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and to be, full disclosure, like I haven't run them myself. I just know somebody who was doing a great job with it. And I said, hey, let's send me those leads and see if they're worth anything. Because I actually didn't even believe that they would produce anything good. And so it had, and I was like, okay, let's do more of that. Like I want to keep getting more into the TikTok side of things. And so
Nice.
Yeah.
And TikTok is obviously a high volume platform, right?
Yeah.
And so you are also using setters to like call and qualify and everything, right?
Correct. Yeah, because we're doing between 350 and 400 leads a month through the
Okay.
two Facebook and TikTok, and it's just too many for me to work. So yeah, we're using appointment
sure.
setter. Point.
That's awesome, man. Okay. TikTok ads, Facebook ads, high volume, got an appointment setter, calling and qualifying, and you're only getting on calls with these pre-qualified people for demo calls, right?
Correct. So they're doing the appointment setters are kind of doing the demo calls, and I'm just doing the Zoom calls now.
Okay,
So,
cool. Yeah, they're doing like the qualification intro triage process call,
correct.
and you're getting on to close, right?
Yep, just to close.
Cool. Love it, man. That's awesome. Tony, how about you, man?
Facebook ads all the way. I've only been in the group for 6 months. I actually thought I was the new guy, right? Six months went by so fast. But everything we're doing is through Facebook right now. Minimal ad spend. My ads seem to be so dialed, and my pixels and my API from Go High Level is just, it's unbelievable how many qualified leads I get. Almost
That's
all
awesome, dude.
qualified leads. Yeah, I get about 20% of my calls. Probably about 20% of my calls booking directly into my calendar for discovery calls. And I'm just doing everything right now myself. This week I'm looking at picking up some support with customer service and onboarding, so I can open up a big block of time to like get back to selling, because that's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. Good problem to have. Growing pains, right? We got the volume coming in. Now we need to put new people in place so we can keep the main focus, which is the sales engine, right? I know last time I asked about the bird's eye view numbers, it was like you had spent $4,000 in the last little bit of time and closed like 10 deals from it or something stupid, right?
Yeah, I'm pushing 14, 15 deals now, and
Probably off of 5 or 6 grand in ad spend or something.
Yeah, actually, it's a good question. I haven't checked in a week or so. Lifetime.
Regardless, like $400 or $500 cost per acquisition is pretty nutty. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, really, I've only spent like $3,400.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, actually not as much as I thought. And then, maybe there's just one campaign. 241 leads, cost of $14 a lead.
That's sick, man. That's sick. Yeah, you have like less than a $400 cost per acquisition. That's crazy, man. Amir, how about you, man? How are you getting most of your deals?
3 pillars: YouTube, my podcast, and Instagram.
Okay, cool. All organic?
All organic. I haven't paid a penny for paid ads.
Love that, man. That's cool too.
That's cool.
So how do you manage, obviously if you're doing mostly organic, there's content production involved and being consistent with it. How much stuff are you putting out, and how do you stay consistent with it?
A lot of coffee.
Okay.
A lot of coffee. Like espressos are just it right now for me. No, I was kidding. No, I'm not kidding. But yes, I mean, seriously, I think this is like my 4th one. So I learned very early on that I needed to time block properly. Like Tony, and I'm sure Josh as well, I love the sales process of it, but I needed to really understand like what I'm good at, what I needed to do. So what I do is I do one new video a week, a short, so YouTube short, essentially from that same video throughout every day. So it's about
Mhm.
essentially we're talking like 8 new videos a week. Then my podcast is once a week as well, which is around the same content. And then Instagram is different reels and shorts of what we're producing on the full scale of YouTube. So once a month, I go in to, I have a studio up here and everything is set up for me. So plug and play quickly as possible. I come in, I'll spend probably half a day to a full day recording my podcast and the videos. And then I upload it. I do have a virtual assistant who just really just manages all this stuff for me.
Mhm.
Boom, he gets it. He really puts it out. I've gotten to a point with him now where I just trust his judgment on the editing. And he does really good, cool stuff with SEO as well. So the YouTube SEO team comes in, knocks it out of the park, and that's the content side of it. So
Okay.
it's at least once a month. And then if something hot happens, like, the whole Google, like the Senate hearing, things like that, I'll just literally pick up my phone and just get on, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook or YouTube, shoot a quick video, and then just post it myself.
Okay. Cool, man. That's awesome. And I'm sure I'm correct in assuming the name of the game with all of that is just consistency, right? Because it builds on itself over time, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I started
With
to-
your sorry, go ahead.
No, so I started to, one way that I make sure I do it and I'm consistent with it is I always, every week, almost every morning, I look at what my cost per acquisition is and I tell myself, if I don't do this, this is what it's going to cost me. And I
Mm.
get my tail into that studio quicker than I can think of.
Man, that's good.
Yeah.
I had one question about like, okay, the podcast you're doing and like the YouTube channel and stuff, is it like your name brand or is it like a niche specific brand? Like your podcast, for instance, is it tailored towards a specific niche?
It
Like is it like real
the
estate
name of the
marketing podcast or whatever?
No, so the name of the podcast is the Brand Builder Podcast. So it's on
Okay.
Spotify and Apple Music. And because my pitch to everyone I meet with is your brand, your brand, your brand, I can take it and go really hyper local, or I can take it and go kind of widen out. So if I'm really going into real estate, I'll actually have somebody who's a client of mine join me for the podcast and we talk
Mhm.
about his video marketing strategies, how he got
Awesome.
to where he got to. So it automatically kind of just turns into like a pitch for me for the agency because I
Like
have
a
client
testimonial
already.
pretty much, right?
Absolutely. So I
Yeah.
now have like a 52-minute testimonial that and he keeps dropping the name and what we've been doing for him. And so that's the podcast side of it. And then the YouTube stuff is just Agency 270, and
Okay.
I'm essentially preaching the same stuff with it.
Cool. Awesome, man. I think there's a couple other people in Agency Collective that are doing the podcast route and like having clients on the podcast and interviewing them. I know Jacob Ransom is one. It's really smart. I think it's really, really cool. You're getting on there, you're talking about marketing, but also from the frame of that niche, and then also kind of getting a testimonial type of thing going in there as well. It's really, really smart. Cool. Okay, so Josh, Tony, Amir, whoever wants to take this, let's move on to the next question that I had, and then I have like 3 or 4 that other people submitted as well. Let's dive into this kind of deeper topic. What, like, on the come up before you got really things dialed in and got client acquisition really streamlined and consistent, like what was the biggest struggle between starting and like you getting there? Like what was it? Consistency and dialing in the client acquisition strategy that you eventually, nailed down, or was it mental motivation, or was it time because you didn't outsource fulfillment yet? I mean, whoever wants to answer, what was your biggest struggle as you were trying to dial things in?
I'll take
Shiny
that.
object syndrome.
Go ahead, Tony.
Shiny object syndrome.
Shiny
Eliminating
object
it.
syndrome. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for coining that one for me. I just kept reminding myself every day when I got up and started work that revenue generating tasks. What's the shortest distance to revenue? It's like, and I had a
That's
list.
a great way to put it.
A, B, and C, landing page, Facebook ads, And that was it. Take appointments, learn, study, study closing, study the calls, structure the calls properly, record your calls, watch them back. Like every one of those steps, like even without the CRM, we were just working off a spreadsheet, taking calls. It was just revenue generating tasks. Like stop being distracted by all the pretty things that I want. Those things come in time. You almost have to earn those. If you do those too early, it becomes a distraction. You're delaying success.
Have to earn those. I like that. I know everyone wants to go spend 100 hours like figuring out every single bell and whistle of GHL, but you got to earn it. Like, let's just focus on getting a lead, closing a lead, and then moving on to the next part. Okay, so that's really, really good. So escaping shiny object syndrome and keeping the first thing first, keeping the top priorities, which is creating opportunity, converting opportunity, and then what you're moving into right now is getting fulfillment off your plate as well. You know, I talk about like the 6 pillars of Agency Collective, or the 6 pillars of an agency: lead generation, sales process, closing, onboarding, fulfillment, account management. But the 3 simpler buckets, if I can put those into big topics, is creating opportunity, converting opportunity, and then systems, or like fulfillment, getting that stuff off your plate. So that's good. Josh, you were about to say something.
Yeah, and actually mine lines up similar to what Tony said. I use the phrase money making activity. Right. So for me was, and I heard early on when I first got into the game, and I think from the same training you and I took, Blake, was take imperfect action.
Yeah.
We can spend months dialing in stuff and never make a sale. And it doesn't matter how good it is. And so just take even imperfect action. So that one was like just kind of etched in my brain. And I thought, I've just got to run. Like, and if I fall along the way, we'll figure it out and we'll call that a test run. And then we'll pick ourselves up and keep testing the next test run until things start to click. And so taking imperfect action, but the actions I'm taking need to be money-making actions, money-making activity. And my goal has been, even more zeroed in the last 3 years, has been, what jobs can I work myself out of? Like, I'm looking for systems, processes, people to replace me so that I can keep pulling myself out, so that the money-making activity really is sales. And I'm not caught up with fulfillment or account management and whatnot. I even early on, the first 3-4 years of doing this, I did the whole agency route where I had full-time and part-time staff. Like, I had a team of like 5-6 people on my staff, not outsourced, and it created its own headaches, like tons of staff issues that I was constantly having to deal with and manage. And, you know, change of events or whatever, I eventually kind of started over from scratch. I said, you know what, this time I'm not going to do that. I'm going to outsource so that I don't have any more staff headaches other than the staff that I absolutely need. And that has just been a big game changer as well.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I've seen you go through kind of a metamorphosis of like, way in the past, you're like taking action and testing new things out was like testing different, you know, hand-to-hand combat prospecting channels. And like nowadays, your version of taking action and testing things out is like, I'm going to use this contractor to do this new prospecting channel for me. And so it's your version nowadays of testing and optimizing is higher leverage, because now you're not just like hand-to-hand combat testing different prospecting channels, but you're like leveraging experts and people who can do the task for you. And it's been really, really cool to see the example of you finding that TikTok ads contractor and utilizing him, and now you get 2/3 of your deal from that. Like, that's an example of that, right? You were just looking for the next thing to test in order to create more leverage in your business. And it happened that you did a test with a TikTok contractor and it worked out, and now it's successful for you. And I'm sure, because I know you, that like it doesn't stop there. We're probably going to be testing out more things along the way. Okay, here's a LinkedIn prospecting contractor that, you know, has this process. Maybe I can test that out and test that out and test that out, right? We should always be testing out different marketing channels. So that's awesome, bro. Yeah, man. Amir, what would you say?
I didn't lack motivation, because when I got started with you guys, I had just had my son.
Had a baby. Yep.
Yeah, I had my son was born 5.5 weeks early. He was born in November. And my previous life, I had a IT company that we ended up selling. So I remember one of my initial conversations with Blake was like, listen, dude, I need to do this. I have a kid. Like, there is no lack of motivation. But one thing, and I will actually give you, Blake, 100% of credit of maybe 99%. I'll take 1% credit, but like 99% credit of like how far we've gotten is after that one-to-one call I had with you. So I sat through module 1 and I was telling you all the things I wanted to do, and you go, time out. Why do we need to do these 15 different things? Because I was in my mind, I was like, I have a kid, I have all these expenses, like cool, I have some savings, but I need to make it happen.
Yeah.
And from that call, I understood the value of, success as a team sport. I love when Simon Sinek said that, and I have that it's my background on my phone. And so
That's awesome.
I quickly understood that I need to do this in the eye of a team, in the sense of there needs to be things kind of plotted out. I need to focus on certain things. I can't be distracted with this guy and this guy and this guy. I just need to go hyper focus. So that call, I would say, was the come to light moment for me and the success the agency has had so far.
That's awesome, bro. God, that's fulfilling for everyone here, part of our community, to like hear that. Like someone, that's awesome, dude. And would you say a big part of that was like simplifying? Would you say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think when we had that call, I was telling you like 15 different industries I wanted to hit.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't really gonna work.
Yeah. Now,
And I
obviously, guys, like
realized that
we talk to a couple dozen agency owners a week who are applying for Agency Collective, and that's for sure one of the biggest themes is people who want to offer too much. Like you guys would not believe how often we talk to agency owners who are doing $5K a month in revenue, offering 12 different services. It's like, this doesn't make sense. As opposed to like offering one service and letting that take you to 7 figures. Honestly, you guys have heard me say like one offer, one client avatar, and one client acquisition method can take you to 7 figures. I've done it a couple times. Okay. So yeah, complexity is the enemy of scale. And yeah, it's been really cool to see you like simplify, get focused up, build a process. Now it's all up from here. It's awesome, man. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
Let me dive into, we did a couple questions from the Facebook group. Let me dive into one. This one's from Ed. Super simple one. What niches are you guys serving?
So I'll jump in. So for me, it's
and why, I'll add that, or like what do you like about it or whatever.
I spent, when I turned 18, I got my real estate license because I was like, dude, school isn't for me. I'm just gonna go sell homes for a living. And then I was like, well, maybe this whole selling houses thing isn't what I want to do. And so, but what I did notice immediately is that there was a lack of understanding of the shift in marketing that was happening. Like people were still caught up in TV ads, mailers, and that whole world. And I saw this shift happening. So I went to college and studied the marketing and all the fun stuff. And then like, as I was there, I was doing some consulting. And so I continued to stay in the world of real estate for, 12, 13 years. So one of my high service areas, there's two, there's real estate and then home services. The real estate side is because I have so many experiences in it, but I break it down into different pillars, which I'm happy to get into it later. And then the home services, I was really turned on to that specific thing after our conversation. And then I went, studied it, looked at tons of the content you guys had on here. And I think it was like a couple calls that Josh was leading as well. And I was hearing him like talk about that industry more. And I'm like, this is where I need to focus. And it falls right into real estate because the electrician, the plumber, the roofer, all of these guys are like all back into one.
Yeah. And like, what's really cool is you work with like real estate investors and they can refer you to like 3 different contracting companies they work with. And that makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And like the home services space is, of course, like my bread and butter. And I think it's just a perfect balance of, well, it meets all 4 of my niche criteria, if you will. You guys have heard me talk about like number 1, high ticket niche, right? So their sales are $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. So it's pretty easy to justify a marketing retainer. Number 2, they already view your service as a necessity. So Joe the roofer knows he needs to be doing SEO and Google ads. He knows that's what his competitors are doing. So that's known, right? And 3 and 4 are ease of marketing for them, producing results, and ease of marketing to them. That is the one that agency owners get hung up on. You can market to these guys relatively easily, okay? As opposed to like thinking about marketing agency services to a dentist or a lawyer, yeah, it sounds pretty sexy to have a 10K per month lawyer account, but if you're only landing one a quarter, it doesn't sound so great anymore, right? So like going after niches where it's easier to market to them is a big deal. So it's been cool to see you find your groove in that space as well, man.
Thank you.
Josh, niche.
Niches get stitches. No, that's not how that goes. When I first started, I did roofing. It was one of my favorites. I just loved the rawness of these guys. I felt like at home with them almost, like I could just talk and I'm one of those like, just, we're not going to beat around the bushes. I'm not a white collar kind of guy. I'm just like, and roofers just made me so happy because they just would shoot it straight and there was no like beating around professionalism and stuff. And so that got me into the whole contractor space. After I started working with like 3 or 4 of those guys, then I started opening up to other, like I've heard some other marketers say, basically any industry that touches a house or an office, like that's it. We're in that space. And so
I like it.
I started working with more. And then I discovered I had 3 years ago, started working with One Land Clear. And it took off like gangbusters. He did so well and got super aggressive that I was like, man, that was fun. And you're similar to contractors. Like, who else can we start working with? And so I started working with a lot more land clearing guys. And lately I've just kind of gone back and forth between land clearing and contractors. But I don't know. I like I've done a lot of homework on contractors and like their ticket costs and their language and what's important to them and not important to them. And I've just kind of stuck with that. And so even today, like I sold a website this morning to a lawyer and I didn't enjoy the combo as much. Like, even though it was an easy sale, she was like, cool, let's go. I was still like, yeah, but I miss my roofers. Like,
yeah. And you're like, I really hope you enjoy this website. Please don't
yeah.
sue me.
No, that's part of the even with the law firm. Like, please don't sue me. Like, I know when the invoice went out, I'm like, are you going to check my policies and stuff and make sure there's nothing weird there?
I could never work for a lawyer.
Before I engage in business
way.
with this lawyer, I need to make sure my
Yeah.
website has the terms of service.
Exactly.
Gosh, man. Dude, do you have the Wayne Gretzky Michael Scott quote frame thing? Dude, that's freaking hilarious.
I saw that as soon as he started. I was like, that is cool.
I do. And I'm talking to a couple contractors right now about actually completely redoing this wall with all kinds of stuff, but I'm trying to figure out how to keep him.
Dude, that is so funny.
Turn it into a mural.
Yeah. He used to sit above my computer during sales calls. I'd literally read it and just be
have that painted on your wall.
So shoot, have it tattooed on your body. Just go all the way. I'm just kidding. Okay, cool. Tony, I'll let you answer that question, and then we have a couple questions in the chat. Niche.
My niche is flooring.
Cool.
Done. Next question.
And it's because you have a background in that industry, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird industry, right? And I have a background, and it's funny. I have another agency, right? We do native advertising stuff. We're really good at like developing cold landers and ad sets and stuff like that. So when I originally reached out to Blake and his team about joining Agency Collective, I was more interested in Blake's message about running my agency, and I was more interested in aligning with that model rather than what I was doing, which was everything. So on that call, it was kind of like, well, I don't know if you're a good fit for us. And I was almost offended. No, I'm kidding. But I was like, okay, well, we kind of work in like the home services type of industry. And I was like, well, I do have a background. My previous role was I was a 12-year sales rep for Mohawk Industries. And Mohawk is, if anybody doesn't know, they're a $12 billion company. They're the world's largest flooring manufacturer. And so I know the customer really well. They're my friends. They were my clients. I traveled all over the world. They moved me to New Zealand. They moved me to Canada. I developed markets for them. And I help salespeople sell inside those stores. I help flooring contractors become stores. It's like, I know those guys well. Yeah. And I was just kind of tired of the industry when I moved on, and I hadn't really looked back. And I always had a feeling deep down inside, though, that I was going to end up coming back and making some money or making an impact to that industry. And so on that call, I said, well, I do have this interesting background of flooring. And I was like, you know what? And I just kind of rolled the dice on it. I said, you know what? I'm busy with other agency. I got a good team on this other side, and I'll be willing to try something new. Right. So that's kind of 6 months ago.
Yeah, and I remember that conversation. I think you had a conversation with Aaron at first, and then we had a
Yeah.
group call. Is that what right? I think
No, we didn't have a group call. Aaron did a great job. I mean, I
was it
was
just
still like,
Aaron? Okay,
it was
gotcha. 'Cause
just Aaron. Yeah.
maybe I'm thinking of the
You,
onboarding
you
call that you
guys,
and I had. I just remember the first time I talked to you, we were like, hemming and hawing about like, okay, what niche can you go after? And then you told me about your background in flooring, and you were like, yeah, well, I've worked with over 1,000 flooring contractors, and I know all these people. And I was like, dude, you're sitting on a gold mine. Do you remember that conversation?
I
And I
do
was like,
remember that
okay, you know that
conversation.
industry, it's high ticket sales. You already have the industry knowledge. Like this is great, and
And
it's
you know what's
working out
funny
now.
is I never tapped my network.
It's just
I
been ads
still
for now.
have no.
Okay,
I still have not tapped my network because I
gotcha.
wasn't
Wow.
sure. I was like, do I like I don't want to like try something. I value my network. I value the
Yeah,
people I care about, whether we're talking today or not. And I don't want to be the guy that's really like, hey, I got something new. I want to try it on you. I have friends I can do that with. Right. I
yeah,
have one guy that I did when I signed up for agency elevation, and I needed a couple clients just to kind of meet the $1,000 minimum. I tapped one of my buddies and I was like, hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to do this? I'll give it to you at like whatever cost, just to meet
yeah.
that. What's up, Josh?
Josh, what's up?
Tony, if you don't want to, I'll tap your network. If you
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. Wait a minute, Josh. Hold up. You're already busy. Send them my way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're too
if you
busy
don't
with your
want
TikTok
them,
ads.
if you don't
dude.
want them, I'll take them.
Yeah, I'll give you some of my network. I'll give you some of my network for your TikTok guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
I'm
awesome,
really
man.
looking forward to tapping that network, and I'm probably going to start doing that real soon here. I'll probably really tap that network when I start making really good content. Like I'm not sure if you're doing that on like me on content,
Yeah,
creating ads and stuff. So
I'd be giving
that's when I'll probably start tapping that network and reaching out to people.
for sure. But I mean, right now you've spent like 3,600 in ads and landed like what, 12, 13, 14 clients. And so right
Yeah.
now, instead of having to spend a day reaching out to prospects, no matter how hot they are, you're paying a platform to do the prospecting for you and landing clients at $300 a piece. So like you might not even want to do the manual labor side of things,
I think it's a little bit more
But no,
powerful too. If any of
Oh,
these guys come back and they're like, "You're doing this, you didn't let us know. Like you didn't say something." It's like I think
that's true too.
kind of changed. It kind of reverses the roles a little bit. It's like it's always kind of an advantage if you can turn the tables and let people come to you.
100%. That's what paid advertising is all about. It's inbound lead generation. Everyone that comes to you is reaching out to you, not the other way around. I mean, they're responding to an ad, yes, but they are booking on your calendar. They are an inbound lead. It's not like you cold emailed them or whatever. So really, really good stuff. Cool. Let's jump to some of these questions in the chat here. Tarun said maybe a question for Amir. During your transition from offering many things versus focusing on a niche, did you have to say no to any prospective clients, and how was that experience?
Well, I got lucky. I married a therapist, so she talked me through the panic attacks. Yes, I said no.
Bro, that's a part of the process. You can't get away from that.
Yeah,
Are you really
exactly. That's
growing
your
if you're not having panic
resiliency.
attacks?
That's
Are you
what
really an agency owner if you're not
Yeah,
having massive anxiety?
seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I have
Still
what are you
drinking 2
doing?
cups of coffee a day? Yeah.
I have her on speed dial every moment. I'm about to have parents help me.
Yeah.
But no, yes, I definitely I had to reshift my thinking. So I was no longer, I don't know if this is the right word. I was no longer desperate for their business, although I had a baby at home and I was like, please give me money. But I was no longer desperate for business because that desperation, you could do it on a phone call, a Zoom call, in person, in a different world. They will smell it, hear it, and literally taste it, and they will take advantage of you. And before you know it, you're now offering your services at a fraction of the cost. So I adopted 2 things. 1, they need me more than I need them. 2, call close. If you were not transparent with me in that first call, my discovery call is like, listen, what's your biggest pain point? What was the best year? What was the worst year? Why were they the best and worst years? And then I go into the strategic and all the other fun stuff. But taking those mindsets on and saying to a person, like, let's say Tony's coming to me and I'm like, Tony, what's your annual revenue? Tony's like, well, why do I need to tell you that? Or what's your budget? Well, why do I need to tell you that? You're going to price gouge me. I say, you know what, Tony, you're right. If that's how you think about it, then maybe this isn't the right way. And then you kind of watch them backpedal. So that mindset, that shift really, really helped me get through I don't need everybody else. I'm going to focus on the people I need. And these really, really good things. Like I made my bread and butter, like before like at the initial like 10 to 12K I added was all Google Business Profile and geo targeting of ads. That's how I started it. Then when I really got comfortable and like really started to get into more, then I added the SEO because I found 51 blocks, and then like through all the other stuff, and I started to do a little bit more, but I strategically grew it instead of just trying to throw it all.
What I got out of that was like whenever you did simplify and clarify the niche and the offer and everything you were going towards, you held true to it. You stopped catering to what the prospect wanted, and you held true to the new identified
Right.
TAM and offer that you had. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which requires saying no sometimes, which is hard,
Yeah.
especially if you're trying to grow, right? So good.
It's
Good
really
answer, man.
interesting, the difference in how you sell, right? Like, I take more of a
Yeah.
nurturing role, like a relationship build. I don't do any of that stuff on the discovery call. I've talked to enough people over the last 6 months, as I know within the first 30 seconds if you're going to be a prospect or not. Like, I know that we're going to be setting up a demo call, right? And I actually, I care about people. So even if it's like, a guy that's just getting started and he doesn't know what to do, and I could tell within 30 seconds, it's like, I'll sit on that call with that guy, right? And I'll be like, hey, I'll help him. Hey, these are your next couple of steps. This is kind of what you may need to do. I don't really get into a lot of revenue stuff. Sometimes we do. I can feel them out and see how warm they are, but I kind of work on the relationship first, and then always kind of go into the business stuff later.
Yeah. The 2-call close naturally has the relationship building aspect to it, right? Just like a lot of people are expecting to get sold and pitched on that first call. And then when you don't, and tell them you're going to go off and, do some research or provide some value in some way, and then come back and like help them. It's just like the relationship building aspect of the 2-call
I actually
close
make a
is
point to say that
great.
on every call. So if I'm calling somebody, didn't book an appointment or something, I give them an introduction and whatever. I'm happy to share it, but I don't want to go into that. But it's kind of like me aligning with them, like, hey, I'm kind of on your team. I'm one of you.
Yeah.
Right. And then also I always follow up with, I'm not here to sell. I don't have anything to sell you. I just want to see if we're doing something that might have a positive impact on your business. That's all.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've said that on occasion as well. Like, hey, just so you know, like I have nothing to sell you today. This call is purely about seeing if we're a good fit and seeing if the stuff that we do over here can help the stuff that you do over there, period.
Yep.
So anyways, man, let's dive in. What's the main service you got? And then go right into discovery, right? So I can set the frame that way. So that's really good advice. Let's go to the next one. Judith said, I would love to hear about results for their clients and how that end is going, and advice about making campaigns effective and successful for clients. So client results, pretty much, if anyone wants to take that.
SEO has a much longer lifespan in my experience than the PPC guys. And the caveat is, unless you have a really healthy PPC budget and a good dense enough population. So I went through a season 3-4 months ago of losing a bunch of clients because they were all PPC clients that I was just kind of sales hungry, and I was just landing them. If they had like $10 for their budget, let's do it. We're going to get you 1 million leads. No, I didn't really say that, but I was hoping that we could at least get some leads, and found that if they didn't have a big enough budget, it just didn't work. And we lost like 12, 13 clients in 1 month. And they were all, or most of them, 10 out of the 12 were PPC clients. And so since then, we've been slowly rebuilding, and majority now are just SEO clients for us. Yeah. We've been stacking again. And PPC is only like, my language has totally changed. It's like, if you don't have a minimum of $1,500 or more, even in bigger cities, like today I had a call with somebody and I said, in your city, you need a minimum of $2,500 ad spend, not including our fee. And so if you balk at that, we're not a good fit. I don't want you to feel burned by Blue Goat Marketing.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like, I love working with SEO agencies who specifically focus on SEO, because just by making SEO your flagship product, you're setting yourself up for really low churn, really high retention. Yeah. And if you set the expectations with clients really, really well, happy clients as well. So essentially what the picture you just painted right there is something that should be obvious to most marketers. And that is that in regards to client happiness and client retention, paid ads is always going to be a little bit more volatile than SEO clients, right? For SEO, this is kind of ballparking a little bit, but for SEO, we saw like an average churn of 3 to 5%. PPC, an average churn of 10 to 15%. And then you move into like Facebook and TikTok land, it can be like 20, 25%, you know? And so that's why I recommend as much as I can to agency owners who can do it and who have contractors to help them doing SEO. So, no, that was a good answer. I hope that helped. Judith, anyone else want to do that one? Let me read it again. She said, just want to hear about results for clients and results for their clients and how that end is going and advice about making campaigns effective. Anyone else?
So for us, again, like I said, like our bread and butter was Google Business Profile, and it was that increase, whether they have the profile or they don't, the initial 90 days, like there's a huge increase because we're posting for them, we're helping them get reviews, we're discussing their offers, like they really get to see a pretty high value in those initial 90 days. Then we match it with then we go into SEO and be like, listen, we talked about your SEO at the beginning phase of the discovery when we went into the pitch. Like now it's time to hit it because look, we're sending people to your website, but no one's converting. Like now we need to discuss this phase of it. So I love what Josh just said about like, we don't want you to feel burned out by Blue Goat marketing. Like that is what we preach as well. Is like, listen, I don't want you to feel like you have to spend 15K up front with me a month to just get you to where you want to get to. It's going to take us time to build the YouTube channel with this or this. Let's scale it together. So then by the 90 days, they've seen a pretty good return of investment in the sense that their brand is bigger. They may have gotten a few calls out of it. They're seeing those clicks happen. And then we can build the SEO on top of it and go. So we found between the Google Business Profile and then the SEO to match within that 90 to 120 days, within 6 to 9 months, that combo, I mean, they're seeing a good, I want to say 8 to 12% increase in their lead gen, because the focus is all content, transparency, and then to go out. And living in the DMV, like DC, Maryland, Virginia, the ad spend market here is insane. Like you have to be at a minimum of almost 3K, 2,500 to 3K just to be relevant. So people come to me and are like, well, I got 750. I'm like, let's find a different way to spend that 750 because you're going to be irrelevant. And to Josh's point, you're going to be burnt out with, you're going to really think you're burnt out with me, but in reality, your budget just doesn't match what you're trying to do.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, I like that. You're getting quicker wins by focusing on some things like GMB optimization and increasing the lead flow there and everything within the first 90 days of having an SEO relationship, right?
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man. Good. And I've seen other agencies do the similar thing for SEO clients, getting them quicker wins by either focusing on GMB or like hooking them up with Google Guaranteed. Or one thing I heard someone do recently as well is as a service that they offer to the client, optimizing their Yelp listing as well. I talked to an agency owner the other day. Maybe he doesn't want me sharing this. I'll just share a little bit. But he was like, yeah, we're charging monthly for Yelp listing optimization. And it's guaranteed to generate them leads, obviously. And so that combined with SEO, they're always super happy with us. And I was like, smart, right? So anyways, good stuff, guys. Was there another question in the chat? I don't think so. Judith asked, what was the budget for those PPC campaigns? Josh said minimum 1,500 is what he works with for clients. Cool. Another question we got earlier in the Facebook group was, which white label firm does their fulfillment successfully and for what service? Do y'all have favorites in regards to, we don't have to say anything negative about any white label firms, but let's keep it positive. What are your favorite white label agencies if y'all use any?
Yeah, I use Agency Collective all day long for SEO only. I have not used
Agency Collective. You meant Agency
Elevation,
Elevation, right?
Collective, Agency Elevation. Yeah, there you go.
Y'all were like, what? Blake's a white label
I was like,
firm?
wait,
Blake's
what?
the secret.
Hell no.
I'm so sorry I shared the secret. Dang it. That's why I'm in this group.
That's his TikTok guy, Tony. That we figured that shit out. Right?
That's right.
No.
Blake's my TikTok guy.
No. I do not run a white label firm.
Agency Elevation. I've been using them for 2-3 years now. I've gone through 3 others before them. I've got over 30 different SEO clients with them, and majority have had success. So they don't bat 1,000 like nobody does bats 1,000, but I've got enough volume now and longevity that I could say as a fact that overall it's been good.
Awesome.
I
Cool.
I agree. I would actually like to answer that question and the last question because I want to share a little bit of my pain that might be valuable to the group.
Okay.
When I came into this backstory really quick 6 months ago, I didn't know anything about SEO. I didn't know anything about PPC. Everything that I know about this business, everything that I know about these services is from this community and Blake.
Wow.
So like when I came into this, I wasn't really sure. So I was very careful on how I was selling stuff. And I've been using Agency Elevation, and they've been great for PPC. I tried them for one Facebook client, and I just wasn't totally stoked. We were generating good leads on a like a basic budget. I think like $50 a day. We were generating good leads. None of those leads panned out. We were doing a Facebook lead gen campaign. So I ended up actually pulling those, and I have those going to somebody else right now. But PPC, I'm doing invisible PPC. I just don't know a lot about PPC, Josh. I started just because of what I learned from you guys it's a minimum budget of $1,500. I don't really understand the world. I'm learning as I go. I try to be very careful when I'm selling it. And obviously you got to be really confident when you're selling it. And it's been a really slow start for me. Like I can see a churn rate for PPC. I'm not totally stoked. I made some mistakes on onboarding because I'm new. Right. And I was doing my own onboarding. So it's like, I feel like I could have a churn rate for my first few clients coming up just because of PPC.
Yeah. But and this is the beautiful part about having your client acquisition machine really, really dialed in. It's like, yeah, we don't want to churn clients, but hey, we're at a pace of like 1 or 2 clients a week because we have a dependable client acquisition machine. So we can replace those clients. Again, not that we want clients leaving or bad results for clients, but like, it's a much low pressure game when you have the ability to push a button and get a client.
Can I throw a little tip out there and I think Tony, good for you, but anybody else listening, a little trick we started doing that has really made a world of difference is if you're doing a PPC campaign, I think even like Facebook campaign, and you have a slow onboarding process, bump out your next invoice by however long it took to onboard. Like when we started doing that, it took the pressure off. I told the client, hey, this is taking us about 5 days just to get you on board. So just, hey, no worries. We're going to bump you out 5 weeks for your next invoice. And all of a sudden they were like, okay, thanks. Because they're putting pressure on you to perform in that 4-week time frame, but it's a full week just to onboard them and then another week of the learning phase. So I've said, hey, y'all don't worry. We'll bump it out 6 weeks. And
I promise you, delaying that bill by 2 weeks, like the relational equity you build by doing that is so much greater than having to wait a week or so to get paid, right?
Lucky for a long time.
And relational equity, in case y'all haven't noticed, is what this game is about. Like most of the time, right? Like, I mean, 70% of the reason why clients stay with you is going to be because of communication and relationship. I mean, seriously, guys, clients will stay with you, for an extra 2-3 months of crappy results while you're trying to fix stuff if they have a good relationship with you, right? I always say, like, if you sell in a relational way and onboard and do business with people in a relational way, the first time you have a bad month, the first month you produce bad results is not when they leave you. It's going to be when they're glad they hired you because they trust you. And now they're going to be thankful that you're the man on their team. You're the woman on their team solving that problem, right? So that's huge. Yeah. Sorry, I went on a rant there, but that's smart. Yeah. If it takes a week or 2 to onboard, push their, billing date back a week or 2 and make sure they know that you have their best interest in mind. That's a great piece of advice.
Can I just add one thing to what you guys are saying? One thing that we like to Josh's point, like how we like he bumps it out. One thing that we've found specifically internally is no updates are better than quiet. Like you could send, like I do all of mine through, I don't like typing. So I'm either doing it through like voice or I'm like recording through Vidyard or Loom or whatever. So I will literally record a video and send it to the client and say, listen, it's been 2 weeks since we've been together. Let me tell you what the team has been doing for you so far. And that has increased the retention and and it has definitely increased like the butting of the heads of like 3 weeks in, hey, what's happening? Like, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing my profile. I'm not seeing this. I'm not
Yeah.
seeing that. So I personally have focused a little bit more on the first 90 days with the client. Make sure they're feeling happy, make sure they're cool, make sure everything is okay. And then after the 90 days, they've gotten hang of the communication, and then you can just go. But set the expectation with them and say, listen, you're going to hear from me in the first 90 days, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe every 3 weeks. But then after that, we're going to get to a point where we're going to hear from you once a month or whatever it is. But
For sure.
no updates has been very, very helpful on our end.
Yeah, that's great. I used to tell my account manager when training, like, if you are not telling the client that we are working, they will assume that we're not. Like,
Yeah.
just not hearing from us, if you go a month without communicating with the client in a certain way, there's just like subconsciously they're just going to assume that no forward momentum is happening. Meanwhile, your team can be working feverishly on their SEO and all that junk. So that's a great piece of advice. And then Amir, Judith had a question for you. She said, I sell a lot of geofencing and would also like to hear from Amir how he combines geofencing with PPC and SEO, or if he does.
I do. I take the staggered approach. So I start them with Google Business Profile. So I go, if they want to be, we call it, if you want to be the local mayor of your town, and this works pretty well with realtors as well. We say, okay, well, we're going to start with your Google Business Profile. After 90 days, we're going to roll you into the geofencing or essentially just like building out the parameters. That automatically, in some sense, you are selling PPC because they're paying for their ad to be at the top of the page. So you already introduced the PPC to them. You're just selling it differently. You're just selling it as geofencing. From there, because with geofencing, what we do is we also sell them landing pages. So we say, hey, with this retainer, what you get is we put the ad creative together for you. We do the geofencing itself, but also we're going to build a landing page for you that's going to be highly convertive with whatever product or service you're putting out there. So you've already introduced the PPC world to them. And then as we're building all that stuff up, we go back and say, listen, you're building content, you have landing pages, but your website as a whole is just disgusting. Like, we need to fix that too. So then you start to build the website into it and the SEO to it. So look at it as a marathon instead of a full sprint, and I need to get them to where they need to get to. It's digestible from their perspective that way. It's much more digestible from their perspective that way versus having to go, we're going to go boom, 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 and everything goes in one. So start them with Google Business Profile, build them into geofencing, build them into a little bit more SEO, PPC if you want, and then build into the SEO end of it.
So can I ask a question? I'll be the
For
new
who?
guy in the group.
For everyone?
Yeah, for everyone. And I'm going to be the new guy. I'll always be the new guy in the group, just so you know.
Let's do it.
Tell me about geofencing.
I don't know much about geofencing either. Amir?
I don't know much about it at all.
Well, let me tell you.
Oh, thank you.
As a matter of
I mean, I
fact,
thought about sitting here just
you
being
can buy
quiet.
a geofencing package today.
I was thinking about just being quiet and just nodding my head, but I decided to ask a question.
I'm glad.
Please.
Dude,
Yeah.
I love asking questions that I may even know some of the answers to, but I'm like, hey, you know what you're doing, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, Philip said I wanted
definitely-
to ask the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like Tony, I'm definitely gonna hit you up with the whole flooring thing because my dad works in a flooring place. I'm like, hey, like, let's figure this out. But that's not the fact. So geofencing.
Bro, I already know your dad.
Probably.
No, I'm joking.
You probably do. I don't know.
Amir Senior,
So-
of course. We go way back.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
I know everybody. Okay.
Tony's got the whole flooring business down before you even know it.
Amazing. Okay,
So
geofencing.
right. So geofencing
mhm.
essentially is you can take either an address or a building or a zip code or a city. So whatever you decide to choose. A lot of agents, real estate agents specifically, do it with open houses, a recently house they sold, or a specific area they're trying to get into. So what we do is we come in, you pick your area, and we sell that package per the thousands of impressions, right? So you pay a certain amount of money a month, and you're guaranteed a certain amount of impressions. Those ads in those local areas, what they do is they essentially capture your location that's on your phone. Even if you have a VPN, even if you're placing somewhere in the outside the world, you're pinging off cell phone towers. The same way that they're pinging you for your location, based on that location, we start to drive ads to your phone. Now, these are native ads. So you're going to see these ads if you go on to Washington Post, whatever browser you're using, you're going to see these native ads in that area. The cool thing about geofencing and that targeting specifically is, let's say you were in, for example, Potomac, Maryland, 20854. Even when you leave 20854, even when you leave that zip code or leave Potomac, Maryland, you're still going to get targeted with that ad up to 30 days after you left that area. So you're still going to continuously see the brand over and over and over again. So lame story, pick an area, we drop your ads in that area. Anybody who goes in and out of that area gets your ad up to 30 days after they even leave.
Cool. That's good. And it's a service that's like, it's not based on lead gen per se, it's based on impressions and stuff. So it's like you're guaranteed to produce the result as advertised. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's a safe bet as a service to offer. I'm sorry if I missed it. Did you say what you're charging for that?
So we charge for the 1,000. So my fee is, we charge about 17 to, depending on the area, it'll be anywhere between $17 to $25 per 1,000 impressions.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool, man.
I thought you were
and
going
to
to say
your point-
$17,000. I was like, dang, I'm switching gears. I'm doing geofencing.
I thought
said-
he was about to say like on a per impression. I thought you were about to say like 17 cents per impression or like something like that.
I mean, it
but-
comes down to like, it's just easier when you sell it by the thousands, because when the numbers come in, it's in that level. So, so like a $1,500 to $2,000 campaign will get you anywhere between 200,000 impressions to about like 250 to 300. Again, it all depends on the area, the foot traffic, and all the fun stuff that goes into it specifically.
Cool. Phil,
That's
Philip
really
said
cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that is cool. Thank you for that explanation. Philip said, what platform is like, are you running from? What are running on? What platform is used for geofencing?
So this is a guy that I have. I'm gonna use Josh's story. I'm gonna use Josh's line. So this is a buddy of mine who has been doing this for a while. So I use him, but there are other companies that sell it as well. And I'm happy to, I have a list of them somewhere on my computer. I'm happy to send it to you, Blake, or Chris, and if you guys want to distribute it, or I can post it on the Facebook group. But there's tons of geofencing companies out there that will actually white label services for you. And geofencing, I mean, sorry, I don't want to keep going on with it, so feel free to stop me, Blake, but you can actually take geofencing all the way up to like OTT ads, so like Hulu, YouTube ads, all that stuff. You can take it all the way up to there and continue to do with more like TV ad stuff, and even Instagram, Facebook. Like, you can take geofencing to whatever length you want it to get to. We have 4 clients right now that do OTT ads with us, and that cost is upwards of about $100 to $150 per 1,000 impressions that we do for them. But they also pay us for the video editing and all the other stuff that we put together to send it out.
Cool.
That's really interesting. You know, because it's interesting because you think about traditional native advertising, is you can't, you really can't, you have to target the whole country. And so if you want to use a platform like Outbrain or Taboola, you can't really target like a geographic area as big as San Francisco or the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're not going to get the impressions. You're not going to get the clicks. It just won't spend. So like that, to be able to place native ads, which is really powerful, and have it in a targeted city like that is pretty damn cool.
So yeah, you can run it from, I think the least you can do to make it profitable is you can start with 100 addresses or 100 like homes in that area or whatever area that is, up to 1 million. When you start to get a little bit higher into those or lower into those numbers, like I've had people be like, well, I want to target all of Maryland. I'm like, cool. But like, let's be specific about where in Maryland you want to hit, because if you're selling a house here, it's like $800,000 difference, right? So it's like, oh, okay. So they always start out with the broadest way, and then you kind of have to bring them in and help them understand where they're going to get their best bang for their buck.
Cool.
But I know that one thing I wanted to go back to, because I was I know both Josh and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if he said this, but I think you guys both use Agency Elevation. I personally like 51 Blocks, and I'll tell you why I like them. They actually will do the onboarding for you. They have project managers that will do it, and they keep you in the loop, right? So like, their reporting is fairly cool, and I've had multiple clients tell me how professional that onboarding is. It's all white labeled. It's through an email that I have access to, that they're sending emails out to. Their email signature is branded to you. So for me, because I experienced a pretty spike in growth, and I kind of, like Josh was saying, like I was stuck because I was doing the work and trying to bring in the business. Like I was in and out, like I was doing everything. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't, one, healthy, two, I'm not going to scale this way. So then I shifted to 51 Blocks when they took over the onboarding. It took some getting used to, because somebody else is doing the work you're kind of used to doing. And there are some questions in your head of like, are they doing what I want them to do? So I personally like them, and they have like different SEO packages and PPC and all that fun stuff as well. So it was really cool to kind of have them do the onboarding versus me.
So when you're looking at 51 Blocks, now, do they publish a price list, or is it based upon your just an agreement with you?
No, the pricing is online.
Okay, so what are we looking at for pricing for SEO, and do they include GBP? Is that extra?
They include GBP, but I've had multiple conversations with people in this group specifically. Sell it separately. That's to me, like that's a service that needs its own focus. So sell it separately. You can, so like 51 Blocks charges you $390 a month for local SEO. That's their beginning price. And they do like 4 GBP posts if you want some optimization. What I tell them is let the GBP go. I have my own team that does that. I use GMB Gorilla, that they do that. And they do a really, really good job of that actually. And then the other one is I just have them focus more on the SEO side of things and just let that side go. But all their stuff is posted online. They do websites, authority websites, like a bunch of different stuff. And I've used a few of their services, and I haven't heard anything bad or like remarks that I'm like, maybe I shouldn't use them. So just on the sole fact that they do the onboarding, they do the client management for you, it made it that much worth partnering with them versus agency.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad you shared that, because I might have to just try them out on a couple clients and just see how it goes.
Yeah, and they're pretty good with waiving the $1,000 minimum if you just ask them.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's a good little tip.
I just literally, like, you can talk to their new CEO, Brittany, and I'm happy to even make an intro for you. And she was like, it's $1,000 minimum. And I was like, well, I'm testing out other agencies. So if you guys can't just give me one for this cost, like I'm happy to, test that. And I dropped a few names, and she was like, well, actually, let's do it together. So she dropped it for me.
They're pretty communicative with us, like Agency Collective. Like if y'all want me to connect you with them, like I'm pretty sure we can make it happen, or through you or whoever. They're pretty good with that stuff. And Brittany, she was their COO, now CEO, I think. And so she's pretty on the ball. So
yeah,
well, that's good, man.
She's the one who does the video onboarding as well. So it's pretty, like, it's pretty cool that she does it.
Awesome. Really cool. Sweet.
That's interesting.
Anything else, guys? Any other questions from anyone here in the chat? I do want to ask one more question for you guys. And if anyone else has questions, just like I said in the chat. My last question is, like, what piece of advice do you have to share with everyone? Anyone can answer this. Like what's honestly the best piece of advice you can give to other members of Agency Collective? This could be something like your biggest lesson in the last year, or your favorite, like we talked about earlier, client acquisition method, like anything, guys. Like one piece of advice you'd want to give people.
I got one.
Okay.
Scale back.
Scale back.
So what I mean by that is, everybody has goals, everybody has ideas, everybody has ambitions of what they want. And what they get lost is, and where they get lost and distracted is between where they are and where they want to go, right? If you continue to scale back from where your goals are, every bit, like, what do I need to get going? What's the most important thing I need to do right now is where a lot of people get lost. So if you continue to scale back, you'll get back to 6 months from now. You continue to scale back, like, what do I need to do right now? Like, what is the task? What is the opportunity that I need to get on top of right now? So if you're just getting started, what's the first thing you need to do right now? You need to have a place to send traffic, right? So that's a landing page. So what I mean by scale back is scale all the way back to what you can accomplish right now, and what you can do right now. Do I need a CRM in order to turn on to convert leads? No. Will I have a CRM in my system in my near future? Absolutely. Right. So scale back to what needs to be done right now. Just focus on what needs to be done to acquire your first client. Nothing
Awesome.
else. Nothing else
Awesome.
matters.
Incredible. Simplify to the vitals of your business, right?
Don't get distracted by the shiny objects. Thank you for that quote, Blake. I'll freaking be ringing in my head forever.
There you go. Yeah, I frequently tell agency owners like, hey, if you're a sub 10K per month agency owner, sub 20K per month agency owner, and you really want to grow, simplify things and just focus on one metric, which is conversations per day. Whether you can or can't spend money on ads just yet, or whether or not you have all the fancy bells and whistles set up like landing pages and CRMs or whatever, like forget all that stuff and just wake up every morning with the sole mission to talk to 5 business owners today. And if 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rolls around, you've only talked to 3, then pick up the damn phone and cold call 2 more, right? Talk to business owners, right? And as you scale, you can do higher leverage activities and start to advertise and have them come to you. But for now, like simplifying, that's the main thing. So yeah, Tony, it's been so awesome watching you keep things simple, but engage in high leverage activities and dial in your client acquisition process. And like you just said, I'm sure moving to the future, you will put, a more robust like CRM and back end follow-up system in place and all that good stuff. But like the reason why you've been so successful so quickly is because you just focused on what matters. We got some ads, we started to generate opportunity. And then what did we do? We called them and we converted that opportunity. We had conversations per day, right? And man, it's just been so cool to see you grow, man. It's been awesome.
I appreciate all the help. Couldn't have done it without you guys.
It's awesome, dude. Anyone else? Amir, Josh, did y'all have any final remarks, closing remarks?
Yeah, I've got one that is what I've been like preaching to myself this year is be great at your deliverables. Like kill your churn. Like obviously we all know we should be selling like crazy and that should be step one. But then what I have found is that after you start getting good at that, it doesn't matter how much you're selling if you keep losing them out the back door. Like you're never going to grow if you keep losing clients every month or two. And so be great at what you say you're going to do. And if you outsource it, find a good outsource partner. If you can't, like go find another one. Go find another one. Keep hunting down a partner or an agency or whatever that is really good at delivering what you're selling. And then work heavily on finding the right account manager who can communicate like crazy. Get good at your reporting where it's not complicated, but it's something that your clients really enjoy looking at every single month. And then get really good at like finding ways to just love on your clients, like give them an extra week for free, give them some free leads, give them whatever that build that equity where you know that this is going to be a lifetime client. Like they want to come. Some of my clients now are on Facebook friends with me and they literally like, hey, I saw you took your son hunting this weekend. Did you have a good time? Like it had nothing to do with business, but now they see me as a friend of theirs and they love what we've been doing for the past 5 years for them because we've been doing a great job on the backside, not just on selling them on. Because honestly, it took 1 week to sell them, but now it's been 5 years of deliverables. So be great at your deliverables.
That's awesome. And then I'll throw something in there as well, if I may. When we talk about, hey, be great at your deliverables, we mean like have, first of all, be good at communication, like whether it's you or your team, be good at communicating with clients and making sure they have everything they need and developing that relationship, but also making sure you have a good contractor or a white label firm or in-house person, whatever. But for most people here, good contractor that's doing a good job. And one thing I really want to just stress like real quick, and this is a kind of a touchy topic, but like if you shack up with a white labeler, judge them over a sample size of like 10 clients, not 1 client,
Right.
Like I hear people like bash 51 Blocks, Agency Elevation, anyone on our preferred vendors list, they've all been bashed. At the same time, they've all been praised for how amazing they are. Like, why is that? It's because a lot of people will work with an Agency Elevation or whoever and have a sample size of like 1 or 2 clients. And it's like, oh, this PPC campaign for this commercial cleaner in Idaho Falls didn't crush it. So now they must suck. And it's like, hold on, so there's a sample size thing, right? So, but I think the best thing y'all can do when we're talking about providing good results and working with quality contractors and figuring out who you want to partner with white label wise is listening to guys like this, listening to guys like Tony and Josh and Amir being like, hey, you know what? I tried out this one and this one, and they all have pros and cons, but in the long run, this one did really well for me. And listening to guys like that. Okay. So
I choose for that. I choose to believe the one thing that I can always control is me. I'm the
Yep.
variable, right? I'm always the variable. If a conversation doesn't go right with a client, if the conversation doesn't go right with my wife, it's my fault, right?
Sure.
I know better. I know how to communicate with people, right? It's like if something's not going right, I know what I did wrong on my PPC clients, right? I got to overcome some of that stuff because I'm learning.
For sure. Yeah. And whenever you start to use a white label company for your fulfillment, you still very much have a good amount of control over the client experience and the perceived value of what you're doing. Number one, of course, the client communication and how that's handled. Number two, the expectations you set before they signed on.
Control expectations.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, I'll just stop there because those are the main two things, the relationship and the expectation setting. So that's good stuff, man. Did anyone have anything else they wanted to add?
No, I'll just say this. I mean, even though I love 51 blocks, I still shop around, if not once a week, sometimes twice a week. I just want to see what else is out there. Maybe they offer something that somebody else doesn't. And to the question you asked, and I'll be the guy who says, well, push my limits a little bit more. I'll say two things. One is use this group. Excuse my language, holy shit, the amount of knowledge that's on that Facebook group. Join that sales group that's on Facebook Messenger. Ask those questions. I literally, one of the biggest clients that we recently just closed for $5,000 on MRR. I got on a call with Blake on an accountability call, and I literally said, how would you pitch this, and this? I had the call 2 hours later. I took all of that, made it my own, and then I went and did my pitch, and then I was done. Use those things. I think Tony mentioned this before when we all were just getting on, is as much as I can't attend all the calls, I watch these things at night. I go through those resources. I'll watch and rewatch things over and over again. One of the first calls I got on was Josh was leading it. And I was cool. I'm digest it, make it your own, and love and appreciate and value what you're paying to be a part of, and use these people. Use them. I was able to grow the agency from May. We've added, and we actually just closed another client as we were on this call. We've added almost $22,000 in MRR since I joined in May. I came to Blake with almost $7,000 to $9,000 in business on MRR, and I was like, yo, I need help. And then with his guidance, with all these calls, with all these people, we got into $30,000 on monthly recurring revenue. And so use these people, ask them the questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Even if you think you know the answer, still ask it, because somebody will give you another way to look at things. Attend those ad calls. Don't be afraid to pull up your screen and be like, yo, is my ad okay? What's the worst they can say? No, it's crap, but let me help you fix it. Right. So don't be afraid.
And furthermore, it's that's literally what we're here for.
Yeah.
It's a step beyond. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's that's what this whole thing is about, right?
The funny thing is I spent years, right, running my other agency, which and I was like, God, I wish I just had somebody to run ideas off of, right? It's I wish I had some of this. And then, when I joined the group, I'm not being paid to say this, by the way. But this ended up being one of my greatest investments I ever made, financially. The return on this is ridiculous. Yeah.
Chris said he's going to send me, I don't know, the Venmo hasn't hit yet, Chris. So can you send me that?
Are we sending out Venmos after this for testimonials?
Yeah, how much did he say he was going to pay you? Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Hang this up before I have to pay
hundreds of dollars.
And by the way, guys, for anyone listening, one thing, I'm going to toot my own horn for a second. One thing I really love about our community is the guys who are successful, like Amir, Tony, Josh, all these guys. They're not just saying hey, you guys should be asking questions and learning daily because they think that's a good advice for you. They're saying that because that's what they're doing. That's what they've been doing. That's why they're succeeding. And if I could talk about myself for a second, it wasn't more than a month and a half or 2 months ago, I purchased my most recent purchase as far as consulting. I bought some like $15,000 sales management course because I want to get better in that area, right? So like everyone here should be learning and giving. That's in our core values as agency, in Agency Collective, is we have a go-giver community where it's in our values. I think we say we invest inward and we invest outward. So we want to learn from others, but also continually invest in ourselves. Learn from others, invest in ourselves, but also give and invest in others. That's a big part of what we do here. So,
one thing
man, I
I would-
appreciate you saying that, Amir. That's amazing.
No, and I think one thing I would add to that is like, my grandfather was like he's just like the Warren Buffett era, and one thing he used to tell me is like, price is what you pay, value is what you get. And so even in your pitch, even in your day to day, like, you pay a price to be a part of something. People pay you a price for a value. And so my piece of advice to anybody here is, you bring value to your potential customers. So don't be so quick to slash your prices just because you want that customer, because I can guarantee you are going to hit a point where, to what Tony was saying, to what Josh was saying, to what Blake was saying, like, you're not going to be able to add value to these people because you're so burnt out, because you're going, and they're paying you half of what the other person is paying you. So it does come out. So I always even tell my clients that, it's like, they're like, well, would you do it for this? And I say, listen, I appreciate you asking, but I run my company and my days around price is what you pay, value is what you get. This is my price. This is my value. Where do you see discrepancy in it? So to me, like, one piece of advice is, know your value. You are valuable for a reason. You do what you do for a reason, and you've invested in yourself, whether with this group or anything else you put money into. So make sure you are getting the value that you're worth out of every call, every meeting, and every chance you get.
That's awesome, man. That's really good advice on the client side of things. Like, we need to understand as agency owners, like, we are the opportunity. We are the bag. Okay, guys, like, we have the opportunity to really help these business owners grow and like change their lives. Think of it from an ROI standpoint. The client pays you $2,000 a month and cost to fulfill is $1,000 a month. Let's just use that as an example. So like, your investment on fulfilling that account is a 2x ROI, right? Man, the business owner has a way higher than 2x ROI with you, right? Like, we've had clients where they're paying us $2,500 a month plus a couple $1,000s in ad spend. They're landing 6 figures worth of deals per month. It's like, the ROI for the client can be 10, 20, 30x. And our ROI is 2x. So what do you think you should say whenever a client says, hey, can you give me a discount or whatever? It's like, hold up, like, I'm like, we're the opportunity here, right? So don't discount your value. Don't discount like your ability to help these business owners honestly, truly, like, really change their life. So that was a really good point, Amir. Madeline said, this is so good, I might need an agency. Who thinks Madeline should start her own agency?
Yeah,
After being the director of Agency Collective
I think she should come partner with me.
It's so funny, like Madeline has never ran an agency before, but being our director for the past 9, 10 months, I guess going on a year or whatever, she's like, I could answer any freaking question about any agency topic ever, because she's been on like 100 hours of support calls now. So
when you think about all the time, that's what we were talking about, calculating all the hundreds of hours that I've been like just hearing all this stuff. You never know.
Yeah, got it down.
Set her loose. Set her loose. I mean, don't let her go. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying,
an agency for you.
I got a corner office for you. It's got like 360 windows. Like, you let me know.
I'll pay you in coffee and puppies.
Okay, guys, y'all are supposed to. Y'all went from
you in time off.
Y'all went from Blake is amazing, agency collective is amazing, to poaching my employees like in 2 minutes. Like, that's great. Fantastic, guys. Cool. Let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Amir, Josh, Tony, thank you so much. Was this valuable to everyone? I thought this was freaking awesome hearing from these guys.
Enjoyed it.
Okay, so